Following this same idea, let's talk about your sleep. I talked about this in my morning routine video about how important sleep is to your morning routines and to making your day good. So, how about we give them a whole video to sleep? So, back in middle school, I would always stay up late in my bed. I knew I had school the next day, but I didn't care. What's wrong with staying up late, anyways? It's just one day. I would scroll on my phone, watching countless YouTube videos. Hours pass by. I'm still laying in my bed watching YouTube. I'm not even that tired anymore. So this one day, I finally go to bed around 1 or 2 a.m. and I get up at 6. I wake up super groggy, super confused. I'm putting metal spoons in the trash, putting my breakfast in the refrigerator instead of the microwave. And then I get to school. The first class of the day, we had this huge test on a book that I was supposed to read. Now, shocker, didn't read the book, stayed up all night watching YouTube instead. Get a D on the test. Get home, my mom is really mad and she's yelling at me, and I'm sitting there just super angry that I would sacrifice, you know, my day, my life, just so I could watch some YouTube videos in the middle of the night. So it's a really bad day. And that day made me realize that my sleep is really important and that it's going to mess me up if I don't have good sleep. So, why is sleep so important? Sleep is a vital part of every human's life. Without it, we can't focus, we can't think, we can't even function. So if we don't sleep, it raises our risk for like short-term illnesses because there have been studies that shown that if you sleep less than 6 hours a night, it actually reduces the effectiveness of your immune system, and it increases your susceptibility to illnesses, but also susceptibility to long-term illnesses like heart problems, diabetes, things like that. Is especially important for us teenagers because our brain is still developing, and while we sleep, this is the time where our brain develops the most. We need to sleep so we can have optimal health, we can perform well both physically and mentally. And bad sleep is just awful for you. When I have poor sleep, I can like physically feel the difference. When I'm working out, I'm unable to do the weights that I'm usually able to do. When I'm in school, I generally get my work done very fast, but with bad sleep, I'm sitting there and I'm confused. I keep forgetting things that I wrote down or what the teacher said. I do poorly on tests. It's just a really bad thing. But with good sleep, I found that my strength increases, my ability to output as much effort increases. I'm not confused. I'm very awake most of the time. Without sleep, we won't be able to make our lives the best they can be because we really won't be ready to make our days good, to make, our habits good. Now, really, the most important part about going to sleep is the same about in the mornings. It's all about routines, routines, routine. Now that we know the importance of sleep, let's lay the groundwork to get a good night's sleep. Because with this good routine, your sleep will be better. But without a good routine, it will be bad. So let's lay some ground rules. You don't want any stimulus for half an hour to an hour before bed, at least. That means no phones, no iPads. Generally, what I like to do is I like to gratitude journal and then I like to read for a little bit. No needless dopamine because it'll make your brain crave it. Then you'll want more instead of going to sleep, blah, 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 blah. Then you want to have the same routine every night in order to prepare your body for sleep. So for me, that would be getting home, going to take a shower, then I would brush my teeth, get my pajamas on, grab my gratitude journal, write down the things I'm grateful for, put that down, start reading until I feel like I'm ready to go to bed. I generally want to do this around 8 o'clock, but sometimes if I have a late sport class or something else, it happens later. But that's still the same general routine I get every night. And One of the other things is don't do super intense workouts right before you go to bed, because by doing that, your nervous system's firing as it's trying to push the weights up or keep your body going. Your body needs time to recover. So unless you have like a late sport class or something, I recommend keeping your super intense workouts to afternoon or morning. But with these ground rules, you can find a routine that works for you. And I've told you my routine. If you want to tweak some things, be my guest. But my routine is very like a very basic, general routine that works the best. If you want to meditate before you go to bed, or you want to take your shower in the morning, be my guest. This is just how my routine goes. But just by following the guidelines, you know, what I like I said in my fitness video, in my morning routine video, as long as you follow the general guidelines that I put out and that is put out, your actual routine doesn't really matter. As long as you have one, you stay consistent and you avoid doing things like stimulating your brain or, making your nervous system fire really fast right before you go to bed. As long as you have a consistent routine, your sleep will improve greatly. If you stay consistent on your routine, why is that so important? Well, same thing with the morning. Your body and your brain will start to see those actions of taking a shower, brushing your teeth, getting your pajamas on, writing in your journal, reading as cues, cueing your brain to think, oh, time to go to bed. And then your brain, you know, starts to get tired because it knows that now is the time it's ready to go to bed. And it starts to go to sleep easier and earlier every time you do it. So, now that we've got the routine down, how long do you want to sleep? Well, the general consensus on sleep is that we need to sleep for 8 hours a night. Seems pretty reasonable. If you had to wake up at 6, when were you going to go to bed? For most people, they'd be like, oh, 10 would be 8 hours, so 10 o'clock. Not exactly. For me, I would set at least 9 hours aside to sleep every day to make sure that you're actually getting 8 hours of sleep. So there's this thing called sleep efficiency. And for a lot of people, it's like about 90% because there's a lot of time where you're trying to fall asleep if you wake up in the middle of the night and things like that. So for a lot of people, their sleep efficiency is about 90%. So if you add up all the time spent trying to go to sleep and everything like that, then 9 hours of sleep really starts to look like 8. I think it's like 8.16 if you put it into a calculator. If you had 90% sleep efficiency, but it's about 8.16 if I'm correct. Yeah, it's 8.109 or 8.1. So, it's about 8.1 hours of sleep if you get 9 with the 90%. That's just a general rule. I would say 90%. If you get more than that, that's great. If you get less than that, try and do it, but try and get it a little more, but if you can't, whatever. You also need time to get ready with a routine. I put aside 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how large your routine is, to get ready for bed. For me, I start my routine around 8 to go to bed around 8:30 to 8:45. So, it isn't completely an extra hour for me, but it's just a realistic time where I can get in everything I need to do, feel tired, and go to sleep on time. You need to do the same thing. It doesn't have to be perfectly an hour, but find a sleep routine that is reasonable for you on most days to get in bed at the same time. And again, the same thing, getting in bed at the same time. Just like the morning routine, this cues you to wake up. I mean, this cues you to that your brain knows to go to sleep on time. And, it tells your brain, oh, it's time to go to sleep. It makes it much more smooth to go to sleep every night if you try it at the same time. But also, if you have a late sport class, like on Mondays, sometimes I'll have a martial arts class that goes until 9 o'clock, and then I have to get home. Blah 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 blah. It happens. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Every now and again, it actually happens. So remember to take in account sleep efficiency. Try and get more than 8 hours in bed so that you can actually get 8 hours of sleep. So just try and take that into account. Set aside time. Now let's talk about waking up, because this is also very important of sleeping. I talked about waking up at the same time in my morning routine video, so I won't dive in too deep right now, but it is very important that you wake up at the same time every day to, again, cue your brain to say, oh, it's time to get up. I can't be tired anymore. Let's go. And to also, you know, do the right things in the mornings, to do meditation, to eat healthily, and to not eat junk food, to not go on your phone. Now, for us high school students, it is important that we wake up at the same time on school days, because we need to make sure that our body is ready for school so we can succeed. But if you want to wake up later on the weekends, I'm not totally against that. I personally do like to turn off my alarms on the weekend, because if my body needs more sleep and it sleeps for longer, it needs more sleep. And, it's the weekend, I can give it to me. So if you want to sleep in on the weekends, be my guest. But make sure it's reasonable. You can't be waking up at 1 on the weekends because you went to bed at 3 in the morning. But if you want to go to bed an hour later and you end up waking up an hour later, don't see a problem with it. As long as it's like, I'd say no later than 8 a.m., but I'm just very used to waking up early. If you want to wake up at 9 and you still find the time to get all your work done in the day, I don't see a problem with sleeping in on the weekends. But the most important part is really just consistency in your sleep. Waking up and going to sleep at the same time most nights is what give you the best sleep and the most readiness for the day, because your brain will be prepared, it will be ready every time to go to sleep. And if you can't keep a consistent sleep schedule, it will be very hard for your brain to know when the right time to go to bed is. But if you can keep a consistent sleep schedule and sleep for long enough each night, your mood, your effort, your mind, it will all improve significantly with just a few simple changes. It might feel a little weird at first to go to sleep so early if you're used to staying up until 12 a.m., 1 a.m. every night, but eventually you'll build that habit, and you need to use your discipline to build that habit so you can sleep well. Hope this video helped. Remember, I love you guys. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Bye-bye.